Take it away, Nina.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Nina Fabbri, and I'm coming to you from sunny Miami. Joining me today is a wonderful group of ladies and certified delegates of the NAWRB, the National Association of Women in the Real Estate Business. Hello, ladies, and welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today's topic of discussion is our number 7 principle, listen. So today I'm all ears. But before we start, what I'd like to do is, as I was preparing for this meeting, I started doing some research, right? Some statistics about listening. And I got to tell you, I got to share this with you because I didn't know this. And I don't know if you know this, but let me start sharing these stats. So the average person hears between 20 to 30,000 words in a course of a day. That's incredible. That's a lot of words. The average number of words that you're able to listen to per minute is about 450. Did anybody know that? I didn't know that. I was like, wow, that's incredible. Listening to nagging or complaining for 30 minutes or more can cause damage to the part of the brain that handles problem solving. So next time you see that negative Nancy, okay, or negative Debbie or Debbie Downer, run the other way, ladies, okay? Because
Noted.
you want brain damage.
You said negative Nancy, but I'm pretty positive.
No, not you, not you. Debbie Downer, Debbie Downer.
I love this. This is great.
Now, the last stat, which I thought was incredible too, and I had like an aha moment, and I was like, oh, that makes sense, because I have an 11-year-old son, and I have to repeat myself constantly for him to listen.
Yeah.
So when it comes to listening, women, men use half of their brain to listen, when women engage both lobes of the brain.
That makes so much sense.
So does that make sense? It makes sense to me.
It does. Total sense, actually.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense while my son is constantly tuning me out. It's just his human nature.
That's right.
So I thought I'd have a little fun with this today.
This
So
little girl tunes me out too, so it's not just little boy.
That's great.
I love that, Nina. Oh my gosh. So think about that statistic in the sense that 450 words a minute, if someone's nagging, that you completely just shut them out. That is like, right?
yeah,
That makes total sense, because as soon as someone starts nagging at me, I'm like, let me take a deep breath.
where's the mute button?
Yeah.
Where's the mute
Right.
button?
Clubhouse is perfect. So the statistic you talked about on Clubhouse, so you were talking about that we could absorb 450 words a minute. I believe that in Clubhouse, we can not only absorb more, but the per day, right, Veronica? I think we have a multiplier at least 0.5, if not higher than that. I mean, that's crazy.
I agree. I agree. It's like
No,
dog
and
ears.
here we are in the age of communication, right? We have cell phones, we have social media, we have Zoom meetings, right? We have distractions in life moving fast. So how do you think this has changed the way that we listen to, right? To people? What do you think, Desiree?
What do I think? I think the bottom line is that we're not paying attention. We're not present. And that's one of our principles, but we're not being present because we're not listening. We're not absorbing. So did you remember what I said yesterday? No. Did you tell me? Yes, I did. And so we're not listening because we're not acting on the thought. And I believe because we're not in the moment of, we're always trying to figure out whether the dog's running in because we're doing a live recording right now to our audience, or we have distractions. The idea is, do we work at home or do we work in the office? Because in the office, we can close our door and we can be completely isolated. But at home, we have so much going on. So the whole fundamental of how much work you can get at home done versus in the office, you've got to have that quietness. So I believe that the distractions of the demand, and that's why we have 90% of the data changing over year after year and completely being replacing in the world, the global data, because of all the distractions and the things that are going on, because they're always curating new content.
I think also if you if you walk into someone's office, they'll have like Clubhouse going on their phone. They have a Zoom up on their computer. They're doing emails over here. So can you really concentrate and pay attention to everything that's going on? And just like she said, with distractions, I mean, my little girl just walked in knowing that we're supposed to be quiet, but she hears Zoom call and she has to sneak in here to see if she could get on here. But there's so many distractions. So I think it's very hard to do that. And I think so this year, or since last year, since March, with COVID, everyone's so used to doing these calls. We're no longer doing the face-to-face meetings, and we're no longer present having that interaction with people. We're doing these kind of things and doing other things at the same time.
Well, also to Nina's point, the fact that we have all this technology at our fingertips, it's made us accustomed to having to either be available or respond right away before actually even processing what the other person's need is. So you want to answer that email, you want to answer that text right away as soon as possible, because you want to give the best customer service possible and be available. Yet, are you truly doing that when you're just ready to formulate a response right away versus digesting what they're actually saying and what their need is and addressing it truly?
Veronica, what do you think?
Wow, I think that there's a significant, I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. I believe that, you know, the accessibility that we have to each other and to so many different platforms, I believe that we're torn in a lot of different directions. So I think that in general, we have to really work at being present and being intentional. We've had this conversation a lot, especially with the new platform introduction of Clubhouse, wanting to be in a lot of different things at the same time. And I think that it's actually been, for some people, counterproductive, to the point that I think we need to scale back and really be intentional about who we're, you know, where we are, and being actively listening. I mean, to the topic at hand, actively present, because, you know, I agree with what was just said, in that sometimes we are so, and there are people, and I see it all the time, they're so eager to speak that they're not even listening to what is being said or questioned before them, that they're already formulating a response. And, you know, I think that it's unfortunately, it takes away from the quality of some of the conversations, at least some of the ones that I've recently been on. And I think it's because people are, frankly, just overwhelmed and just taxed out. And there might be a little bit of FOMO. I feel like that's because there's so much accessibility to everything, people want to do all things at all times, and it's just not possible. It's also not very productive.
All great points, ladies. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Nancy, how do you think listening has helped you develop strong professional relationships?
I think that is a strong suit that I've been told that I have, and I actually didn't realize that I did. But I realized that, you know, throughout my career, I was able to form true, strong, long-lasting relationships. And it's not because I talk to someone on a daily basis or constantly seeing them in person. I mean, some of these people are, you know, across the US or in a different country. But it's the fact that when I am with that person, I am truly present with them. And that's what actually has allowed me to understand what type of person they are, what their likes are, what their needs are. And then I'm able to cater my personality to that, right? But those are things that I wouldn't know. Like, I wouldn't know what your favorite color is, or what you like to eat, or what your favorite restaurant is, or when you're coming in town, if I'm not actually paying attention, you know, to our conversations. And I will remember. And I don't think I necessarily have a better memory than anyone else. It's just because I'm actually truly present at the moment. And that's why I remember, because I value the time that we have together when we actually have it. And, you know, that's what I go off of. And that's how I'm able to really, truly form these relationships. It's just, you know, listening and catering to people's needs and wants.
Yeah, I know that anytime that we've met, you know, you're not like this. Okay?
No.
You just like
Yeah.
put it away and you're just present.
Exactly. And you feed off of each other's energy, right? You know, regardless if you're on the phone or we're right here like via Zoom, or we're seeing each other in person, you could feed off of each other's energy. but you can't do that if you're not listening or if you're busy doing something else.
Well, look
Absolutely.
at the etiquette real quick. Look at the etiquette, if you don't mind jumping in, Nina, remember, I just had this conversation last night, so I apologize for wanting to bring it up. But you went to go introduce someone. You would have a phone, you'd bring someone in and they had a phone. This is, 15 years ago at a conference. You go to introduce someone, they have a cell phone, and it was protocol that unspoken protocol, you put that phone away and you say, hi, Mr. and Mrs. whoever, and you introduce something, especially when you went up to, up the food chain. And I remember having an assistant previously that she was still texting. And I was like, Lord, because 15 years ago, that was totally, you do not do that. Now, everyone's texting on the phone. I don't care who you are. My text is more important, or my whatever I'm doing on the phone. And to your point, Nina, about having that phone here, we have got to put the phone away and remember that we are human and we're not a 24/7 person. So I just had to jump in. Sorry about that, but I was just like, oh.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, how many times have you been in a meeting and instead of that person listening, right, and paying attention to you, they're on their phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brandy, what do you think about this? How have you developed the skills to listen and build these strong professional relationships which have helped you in your career?
I agree. I mean, being in a meeting, you are going to get texts, phone calls, emails, and there are people that'll sit there and read their emails and during the meeting. But, I put the phone down and I have to close my phone so I don't look at it. So I don't see the distraction of the text coming through and other things going through. Because if not, your first reaction is to look down and look at it and answer. So you put the phone, close it up, and then you can't see it, or turn it upside down and do listen. And like Nancy said, if you truly listen to what people are saying, sometimes you have further questions, things that come out that they wouldn't normally say. So on the phone, what is everyone's innate reaction to say is, how you doing? They say, I'm fine. Everyone says I'm fine. It's like a normal, they could have the worst day ever and they'll tell you I'm fine. But if you're actually talking with them and listening and feeling more, there are going to be more things that are going to come out. And now you're truly going to see how their day was, whether it was good or bad or what they need. So it's listening opens up to more conversations, more relationships, etc.
Absolutely. Veronica, you're involved in a lot of different things, in Puerto Rico. How has listening helped you get involved with these opportunities? How has it opened up these opportunities for you?
Well, that's a great question. Really, it's not much different than how listening has helped me to establish my personal and professional, my relationships, right, and partnerships. I really do, to Nancy's point, I really do try to listen to what are their goals? What are they trying to achieve? What's the problem? And how can I help to be part of that solution? It's impossible it's almost like a doctor, right? You can't make an accurate, diagnosis, right, of the problem, or even make a prescription, unless you really do know what the problem is. And so I think for me, what's helped me to become one of those go-to people and someone with credibility and trust is that, I don't lead with my own agenda. That's probably the main thing. I find out, what I'm actively participating in, what is the problem, what is the organization that I'm trying to partner or help, and what are they trying to do? And then I really become an extension of them. You can't do that unless you are actively listening and asking open-ended questions and really being thoughtful about what it is that you are absorbing from, so I don't really go in. I think the key is not going in with my own agenda. It's really to try to be a genuine and authentic part of the solution. When you do that, you establish credibility, and people want to return in kind, also want to help you. It's almost like when people, the connectors. I try to connect people with others as much as possible, because I may not always be the best go-to or answer to what they need, but I know someone that might. So I think
We're losing you, Veronica.
Yeah, Veronica's in Puerto Rico with we lost you for a minute. She actually has no power in the whole island, so she's trying to wing it right now. So go for it.
Can you see me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can see you. We can see you.
Is this any better?
And we can hear you.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry, guys. Yes, she's Desiree's correct. I think I told you before we went live, we did lose, if not all of the island, a big part of the East Coast lost it. I'm in San Juan, so yeah, a little bit. So hopefully you won't. I'll connect with you guys throughout the rest of this program, because it's really a great conversation. But I would just, without active listening and really being thoughtful about what other people's agendas are and what they need to solve, it's really difficult to form those relationships, because first and foremost, it's credibility, right? And you establish credibility by not just being a subject matter expert, but also by being a part of the solution for the people that you want to work with. So finding out what their needs are, what their problems are, and then being actively involved to be part of that solution. Without listening, you're unable to do that. That's all I was saying.
Definitely, couldn't agree more. Desiree, how has listening helped you develop your professional, all the relationships and the network that you've developed? And have you found challenges as a woman in business of people not listening to you?
Oh, yes. So let's start with the second one. When I started on this journey to become where I am today, people doubted, why are you doing this? What's the purpose of it? Is this something you really want to do? Giving your time away. What do you have returned writing for a proposal to the, request for comments to the FHFA, $6 trillion in the housing market. And all these different things I've done over my years. And I was like, okay, knocking on the doors for the bank saying, we need to have a women's department, not a multicultural division. I want to have something that's here, did this, 13 years ago. And look at us today. What are we talking about? We're talking from, the LGBTQ community just got it officially legal that we cannot discriminate against them. That happened this year, right? In the fair housing that should have been how many decades ago? But those kind of conversations have been huge for me to really develop a women's department, which was not present in the banks, even though they pushed back for years. So fast forward, how has listening helped me? It actually allowed me to develop who I am. 3 years ago, I found myself as a visionary specialist, someone who is as a rainmaker. And to do that, you have to be able to listen intently and very purposefully. So literally in 2 or 3 minutes, I can have a conversation with someone and I can size up where I can help them, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and what dots they haven't connected, because that's what I do. And to do that, you have to be very intentional in a very quick way, and doing so many different verticals. And that has allowed me to grow. And so when people ask or introduce me and they say, what does she do? It's now, she's a rainmaker, visionary strategist, because it's no longer that put in this bucket, because people forget and they don't listen to what you're really saying because they size you up. Like we heard with the other delegates, they want to say, oh, she's this or she's that, or look at how she's dressed. And that's why I love all of us are different colors. I'm wearing the NAWRB official, scarf that we made a couple years ago. That is phenomenal. Yeah, right, Angie. And,
okay, we all need that. Okay, we all need that scarf.
That's right.
We all need
They're
this
online.
cup, okay?
You can buy them online. So go to our website. They're all available. But yeah, it's really about. I have found I got a $500,000 a year contract by listening on a phone call and listening to the recording, not assuming, not being distracted. But I listened to Rita Morera saying that she was working for another company when I was doing Freddie Mac REOs directly, and said, oh my gosh. And I said, why are you ERA? Why are you with Freddie Mac? I said, how does this work? She says, Desiree, because of that, I'm going to give you this contract and you get all our assets. Down, girl. But no one in 5 years had ever listened to her answering machine. And yet everyone had a report to her. So I say to everyone, the most important gift you have is to listen, to act, and be intentional in your response back to people.
Well, we have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, right?
That's good. I like that, Nina. That was good.
Angie.
I'm gonna use that on my children.
Oh, how's it going, ladies?
Hi.
Good to see you all. You are bright and cheery today.
Yeah, we all got our bright colors. How do you think listening has helped you, Angie, develop your real estate career?
It's funny, as I was hearing Desiree talk about it, I was thinking about different contracts that I've also got because of listening. And especially when you're coming in sometimes as the second or the third listing agent, and just really being able to hone in those skills to hear what they're saying. My background is customer service, and I used to do like tech support and customer service. So, and I would train the newbies. And when we would get an angry client on the phone, I would be, you know, I'd have my headset on and I would have my computer in front of me and my notepad open, and I would tell the newbie, I'd be like, just listen and watch. And I would basically notate as they went down the downward spiral of their anger, all of the many things that, you know, they were unhappy about. And I would just write them down on my notepad. And then once they finished, I would say, is there anything else that I need to know? And then they would spill out a little bit more, and I would have the notes and I would say, okay. And then I would recap what they were talking about. I would make sure that I was being very intentional about all of those items. And then by the end of the call, we were friends, and I was adopted as the new customer service rep for that individual in most cases. But that's, you know, I think that listening is just, if people don't feel heard, then they're not going to listen to what you have to say. And we all know that we've got something important to say. So that's kind of my take on it.
Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
And she has a really good point. You know, sometimes customers will call, or just, even if it's not a customer, this could just be applied to just in general. It could be your kids, it could be your husband, it could be your friend. Sometimes people actually don't want you to solve their problem. They just want to voice their frustrations. Yeah. And just by you listening, it's more than enough.
So they want a sounding board. They want to have an ear. Exactly. And I think that how many times we lost our tribe, and that's why, and Veronica knows this, I've been on Clubhouse now for 3 months, and everyone who's listening to this call and everyone who shares this call, reach out to us and we'll give you a direct link into a bypass into Clubhouse. We have thousands that we can give you directly, so you don't have to wait in line and be invited to it, and we can get you on whether you're an Android or iPhone. And that's what's been the savior for me during this time, is having Clubhouse, because we're able to sit down and just jaw the moment. Before we went live, you know, we were talking about who outdid who on Clubhouse, how long we were on there, and not to promote the social app. But I got to know people that within 3 months that I would have taken me 3 to 5 years to get to know, to the level I know them now. And then when I met them in person, they're actually better in person than they are in Clubhouse. It was unbelievable. I got on a plane, went to New York, and met some people. We went to a conference, and then we hung out for 3 hours, 4 hours afterwards. And it was unbelievable. It was literally serendipity of the environment to go with it, because you have to listen to Clubhouse. You cannot be on Clubhouse, in my opinion, unless you want to be just a dictator and talk all the time and be, you know, intentionally disruptive, right? And there's some rooms like that, don't get me wrong. But when you need a tribe and you have a moment, we all wake up where we're really, you know, depressed, or things aren't going well, or we have a really rotten day. It is powerful to sit down and just listen to someone else, because when you're helping them, you see that aha moment, that how it affected you, right? Because you can be sitting there giving someone advice and you go, wow, if I just listened to myself, maybe I would be better, because I just gave you the advice. So maybe it's me who has the problem and not you. That's something that I've learned going into my next gen in the 60s, to really have that focus, right? To have that conversation. So I love what Angie said. You know, you repeated to them. So that meant you heard what they had to say. And that was reconfirmation that you're not just another note taker. Literally, that's what it is that you cared enough that you were actually hearing word for word what they said. The sad thing is that it's going to become AI, and robotically someone's going to be taking that call that sounds like a live body, that's going to be taking it word for word to transcribe that call and zip a go. But the fact that you're doing it, and I think that's why you excel at real estate, to be honest, Angie, is because not only charm, look how you're all matched together, but the charm of the environment of listening to the average every day. You're in my home. I want you to be there for me and to understand who I am.
Exactly. And everyone's different. Like, they all have a story to tell, and we all have something to learn if we really can hear them and understand and comprehend, you know, someone else's shoes.
And we wear so many shoes, right? I mean, our listening skills are different, right? When it comes to work, you know, focuses, right? Or personal focuses, right? And like Angie shared, you know, she was listening to this client and she was able to diffuse the client because she was just able to listen, and that's all they wanted. They didn't want a reaction, right? They just wanted somebody to listen. And I know in my own experience in real estate, I've had angry clients that call me. And at first, you know, when I had just first started in real estate, I would just like, you know, talk and also talk to them. And then I learned, no, they don't want me to talk. They just want me to listen, right? And the same thing with friends in a personal relationship, right? Some friends just call you and they just want a sounding board, like Desiree said. They don't want you to give them advice. They just need someone to listen, right? And so how, Brandy, tell us about how the difference for you in terms of, you know, your personal communications and how you listen, you know, or your professional. Is there a difference? Do you find that they same synergies, or do you find that one is more challenging than the other?
Well, on a personal level, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. So talking to a 5 and a 7-year-old is obviously much different. But there was a technique that I like, and I've been adopting this technique. And is once someone says something, you say, "This is what I heard." So you're going to explain what you just told me, and then I'm going to say, "This is what I heard." And then they have a chance to say, "Well, that's not really what I meant, but that's what I heard." So now we're on the same understanding. So I actually use that with my children, and it works because, you know, when children gets very upset, they can't talk. They're just wanting to throw a temper tantrum and get mad and upset. And I'm like, wait. This is what I heard. I heard that you're upset because you didn't get your Game Boy or whatever it is. You know, what are you really upset about? And then they're able to like sit there and listen. It's like, no, I'm not mad about that. I'm mad because I didn't get a juice box or whatever it is. So it's just listening to that. You use those same skills talking with adults. It's like, okay, this is what I heard. And the same thing with listening to their complaints. She was saying, "This is what I heard that your complaints are." And they're like, "No, that's not really what it is. It's this." So it's getting that communication. It works for personal or for business relationships.
You know,
I'm
that's
going to use that tip.
yeah, you know, that's actually a negotiation tactic, is first
Yeah.
listening empathetically to what the other person has to say and then labeling it. And by labeling it and putting an emotion tied to it, it makes the other person actually go back and think like, wait, am I really angry about that? Or wait, is it really what I'm feeling? No, not really. You actually make them reset their state of mind. So you're actually it's called labeling, and it's a negotiation tactic.
Listen to Miss
Great with-
Nancy.
That's great with children.
Game on.
Game
And Nancy,
on.
you just recently negotiated, you know, something to do with your job. How did listening help you with that negotiation? Tell us more. Preach, Nancy.
Good job, Nina. Yes.
Yes. So like even I'm going to say, even with children, even with work, I do apply the same tactics. I apply the same. So with work, I'm able to discover what the other person wants. Once I know what the other person wants, then I could see if I could fill that need or not, right? What's really important for them and what they're really willing to negotiate. You also have to concede in negotiations because you want to make sure that both parties feel like they won. It's not about, you know, you just winning a negotiation or you winning a battle against your child or, you know, whoever. It's really about okay, I know what you want. I know what I want. How can I make it a win-win for both of us? And that's basically what I do, right? If I know what you want and I give you what you want, but at the same time, you're able to give me what I want and make it a win-win situation, I think both parties leave feeling fulfilled and as if they won. And then that becomes a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah.
She avoided it. Nina, she avoided the actual answer we were looking for. I'm calling you on the carpet.
Let's go to Angie. Angie,
All the questions.
as a woman in business, what challenges have you had with people listening to you and how have you handled it?
Oh my gosh, it can be tough because you know, real estate transaction is something that most people only do once every 7 years when they're a buyer or a seller. So a lot of times they'll have preconceived notions, like that article that you sent to us. They'll have these different things in their mind. And so it's really helping to make sure that I'm hearing what they think. And, you know, when I went through business coaching, he would always say, Angie, listen to their why. So when they tell you what they want, ask them why, so that way you can come down to, like Nancy said, the win-win scenario. And once you can, you know, create that combination, that's really where you're in the sweet spot and everybody's happy and you're getting referred and you're getting easy business and everything just flows best. So it's just mission critical to be able to not only listen, but truly comprehend and understand from, you know, kind of like the backbone level of what these clients are looking for so that you can best serve them.
And how do you deal with a rude client that just wants to interrupt you? I mean, I know I've had those in real estate, right? And I'm like, okay, hold on a second here. You know, it's like you have to put, you know, okay, this is where it stops, right?
I have to shut it down. I mean, basically, I let them, but like Nancy said, you got to kind of do the dance a little bit. So for example, I had a couple of clients this weekend. I opened a couple of escrows this week for the sellers, but then I had a couple of buyers this last week that wrote low offers. And it's, you know, some agents would come out the gates and say, I'm not going to write an offer that low in this market. It's a waste of everybody's time, blah, blah, blah. But I choose to do things a little bit differently. When they're writing their first offer with me, I give them the comps and I give them the information, but I let them write the offer that they want. And then I report back to them. Usually I can, you know, find out once the listings open escrow, what that was in at. And then I report that back so that we can kind of learn a lesson through that, because some people want me to listen to the price that they want to offer on a property. And then they want to take their own journey on learning that. So it's something that I'm okay with that. I continue to provide the information, but it's, you know, if they listen to my advice out the gates, sometimes they would get, you know, their first, second, or third offer instead of getting that like fifth, sixth, seventh, 10th, 22nd offer in this market. So it's something that, you know, it is a patience game, but it's also, it's their most important decision. So I feel like I got to listen to them too. You know, if they don't listen, if they do listen to me, it's going to be, what is it he says on South Park? You're gonna have a good time. Like if you,
It's definitely a patience game, right?
Time. No, that's what he says. So you're gonna have a bad time, okay? You know?
Yeah, you can't force. There's different types of difficult people, right? And there's actually four categories that they said. There's four types of difficult people, and for some of them, some are passive and some are not. Some are very much more difficult, like Nina said. And for those, I don't necessarily think you should go head on with them and try to change them right away, because you're just going to build that wall. But Angie has a great tactic. Okay, you're almost just letting them, you know, fall flat in their face. Like, okay, this is the offer you want to do. Let's go for it. You know, you kind of encourage it, and then they at the end of the day, it's the result, right? And you get the result that you want, but they see that it themselves, versus being difficult with you, Angie, and, you know, arguing about what offer you should offer. You let them make that offer. You don't try to change them, and then they end up changing their mind, you know, all on their own anyways.
Because most people are intelligent. If you give them the right data and the right stats, they're going to get it eventually if their intention is to, you know, indeed get a home. So just trying to be that trusted advisor and guide. And it is something that everybody is different. I love it that you know the different personality types. Sometimes I'll look at it in different generations, because we have the different generations that all act a little bit differently. And, you know, like Desiree said, Clubhouse and listening, there's certain, you know, people that prefer the phone. There's certain people that prefer text message and those communication levels, and just making sure that you catch it all from every avenue that they come flying from.
Absolutely. Veronica, how do you handle that difficult client that doesn't let you get a word in?
Well, I find that conversations go smoother when I set the expectations up front, right? So once they understand that I'm really there to be part of their solution, but there's certain information that I'm going to need in order to be the most powerful resource for them on their behalf. I think that once I start with those expectations up front, generally it kind of diffuses some of the difficulties later on. But I very much like we just heard, I let them say their piece. I let them know, I definitely don't get defensive. I definitely don't get offended when they are kind of talking out of line or in a way that I'm not, I guess, comfortable. But I do definitely address it, and I address it in a pretty diplomatic way. But I let them know, obviously that, I have questions. There's certain information that I'm going to need. But there's always that chance, even when you do set expectations up front, that they are going to be difficult, because again, it's the two most stressful times. It's interesting that I actually have chosen the career path that I have, because it's the two most stressful times of people's lives are when they're buying homes or when they're getting married. And so, as I'm involved in some of the events that I do, it tends to get them at the most stressful time. So really being empathetic and understanding that up front helps me. It goes a long way when I have conversations with them that tend to be a little more emotional or difficult.
Yeah, that empatheticness, right? That definitely makes a difference. Like Angie said, Nancy said, Veronica said, Brandy said. Sorry, Desiree, go ahead.
No, apologies. You're the host. My question I had for Angie was, what do you think your data analytic girl here? What do you think your success rate is for doing your deployment of saying that, okay, you want to write the offer? I just want to let you know that I'm advising you we should, but hey, I'll write it the way you want to write it, and we'll see what happens. So what's your success rate that they stick with you? Because, other people will have that wall and say, no, I'm not going to do it. And they'll leave and say, you're a difficult agent, I got to go somewhere else. So do you see that your success rate is 100%, 95%? What do you think your success rate is? Just out of curiosity.
I would say probably, and this is just thinking over the last year of ones that I've had in that kind of boat, it's at least 75%. So if I continue to work with them, and if I'm not judgmental about what offers they're going to write and things like that, some of them, are, it doesn't happen, but that's not always my fault. You know what I mean? When it comes to that, like, other situations in their life occur or things like that, or just, another thing that my coach always taught me is, like, some people play to win, but most people play to not lose. And so it's, you come to a point as a buyer, and all of you are shaking your head that you're like, I know when I stepped into the I'm playing to win room, but some of them are still, tap dancing around in the playing to not lose room. And that's okay, because eventually I think, all of us, if they do their stats, if they think about it, it's best to own a home. So yeah, 75% would definitely be. And for me, that's worth the rub. If you got to do a little bit of extra work, I can pop up an offer really quick. So it's, it's not that big of a deal. And like, do you guys find this too, is once you start to lead people down a path of doing business together, then it's easier to take the next level and open the next gate. So for me as a buyer's agent, writing your first offer with me is opening a gate. And if we can open that gate, let's do that, because then it's going to be easier to adjust the terms of your offer from there once you've already opened the offer gate.
I agree. I was just curious, and I think it's 75, to be honest, after all the years of being in the business, over 30. I think that's a very good success rate. Like you said, it's very easy to write the offer. It's all the other components, but the idea is that once you master the offer writing, especially since it's all automated for the most part, the ability to gain the trust, have the offer, feel committed. And then also, you know, what kind of buyer you're dealing with is someone who's really going to be committed to you, especially through the process, because, you know, with the contingencies being removed and, you know, having the upheaval of, especially in litigious California, you know, it's a very, as she rolls her eyes, whether it's the lender side, the appraisal side, you know, the condition of the property and all the new laws that are coming out that the, you know, the fire has to be so far. That's when we're really listening, right? You know, and I think the idea is that, you know, finding an asset to where, oh, you know, I don't want a pool, absolutely don't want a pool. But then you find a perfect house and you end up buying a pool, and it's the greatest thing that ever happened to him. Like my own sister-in-law and brother-in-law was pretty funny, adamant, you know, never going to buy a pool. Don't ever show me a house with a pool. We ended up buying the dream home for a pool in the last 20 years. They thank me every time they see me. So I think it's really about not only the quality of listening in that aspect, but evolving with them. And that's what you're doing. You're evolving them and you're training them and you're coaching them in the aspect of buying, which goes back to the listening, which the data analytics, I think it's phenomenal. Nina, that how you start off with the analytics. I think that's so powerful. I mean, I learned a lot from you doing that, because now we're going to bring it up on Clubhouse, Veronica. Do you know how many words you guys are listening to and all you guys talking at the same time? Really? You're not listening to each other.
I mean, I feel like listening, you know, the way that you listen is really focused on it's really based off your communication skills, right? Or your communication style, right? I mean, I'm an introvert, so I'm not much of a talker. You know, I'm not going to be the life of the party. I've done more talking in this meeting than I do in most. Okay, like this is a lot for me. Okay, so there you go, Desiree. But I feel like then there's, you know, extroverts, right? And they have a whole different communication skill or communication style, right? What do you think your communication style is, Desiree?
Can I answer for her? It's extrovert.
Please, Nancy, go for it, Nancy.
Raise your hand if you think Desiree's an extrovert.
All right, let's do this. Nancy, everybody raise their hand if they think that Nancy is an extrovert. Introvert.
I'm an introvert.
Nancy?
I think I'm an introvert, yeah.
She is. All right, so I'm dying to hear Nancy's response, though. Come on, you put yourself, I want Nancy to answer, Nina. Come on.
I think Desiree is an extrovert. I think she loves to talk, and she's not just, it's not just the talking, it's just even her outfits and just her overall energy and her red hair. And, you know, she just comes in, it's like this powerhouse. It's like, Desiree, I'm here. Like,
All right, so Nancy. All right, so I love this. This is good. So, all truth be told, I am a severe introvert, but I have developed, because of my fear of talking in front of people one-on-one when I was a child, literally when I was 5 years old, to get up in front of kindergarten, to get up and talk and do a book report or presentation or anything, I would break down and cry. I couldn't do it. I literally could not do it. And when I started in real estate 32 years ago now, and you have the cubicles, remember? All the little teeny cubicles, okay? I used to work for Coldwell Banker, and they would call on every single person, and I'd have to slither up and say, Desiree, you have any updates? And I'd, oh my God, I said the wrong thing. Oh my God, everybody's gonna hate me. I literally
had that
a
moment.
huge fear factor. So my fear of speaking publicly in front of people became something I had to overcome. So I talk more when I'm fearful than when I'm not. But when you get me excited, I come out. So what is the number one thing that people do? When you want to listen, I'll give you another fact. 57% of listening is first by the foremost of how you look. Second is how you speak. So 37% is how you speak. And 7% is how the content of what you say. So if you're telling me that 6-foot Desiree with red hair has spent her entire life collecting a collection of clothes can walk out on stage and you go, oh, check her out. And you're going to listen to me more than what comes out of my mouth. And the fact that I have stuttering problems, I have, all these different things we don't need to go down. I'm like, okay. But the emotion that I bring to the stage, you're going to now, I got number 2. So my statistics say I've got over 50%, I've got over 30%. So I'm already getting almost an A on you listening to me, regardless of what comes out of my mouth. So that was the way of me coming over my fear that you and I would not get along, or you would not like me, or that you wouldn't let me talk. So if I come out with data analytics, you're going to go, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's kind of cool. That you could either love or hate me. So to be very honest, I'm a huge introvert. But yes, now that I'm of age, I can say, do I care that you like me or not? So that is where I came over my fear of saying I can get up and talk. I'm more fearful to talk to one-on-one than I am in front of 5,000 people, because I'm so fearful that you're looking at me and you're looking in my eyes, and I'm looking in your eyes. I'm, oh my God, did I say something wrong? She's not gonna like me. I honestly have that fear, which is really unusual, but I've learned to grow and be better. So I think that we all change. We might have been an introvert or an extrovert, but because of life circumstances, we've grown to be, we've learned to adapt and grow and be better no matter where we are, to fit our chapters of life as we go through. And that's where, so to that being said, now you learn something me, but I always get excited. When I get excited, you can't shut me up.
That's so powerful, Desiree. I have so much respect for you, and you're such a powerhouse, right? And thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. No, it's a serious thing. I have a huge, can I get this? But that's why it was so important during the pandemic for me to finally realize I had to get dressed up. I had to get back to looking good for me so I could bring my best professional self to you, because I then felt confident and secure that I'm like, okay, you still have it. Let's get on stage and let's talk about it. Whether we had a visual or not, I wanted to feel good about me and bring that energy, because without that energy, people go, I thrive on your energy. I love, do you ever sleep? Yeah, I sleep just like you. Come on, I'm not a robot. But the idea is that you hear me in an energy mode, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, you ever call me, you'll never hear me go, I will sound like I do right now at 3 o'clock in the morning, because my mind can shut off and turn on instantaneously. But I've trained myself to be that way. So I believe that we all can adapt and strengthen ourselves, because what is the famous saying? You can't judge a book by its cover. You have no idea what's going on in my mind, your mind, what our body's going through, how we feel, what's happening in our lives, how good it is, how bad it is. And that's why I feel these principles are so important, that our quality of life has to be that we live in the moment, we smell the roses, and we really listen to what people's angst and pain and sorrow, in addition to their glorious and successes. Because if we don't, life will just run by us, and we'll go, oh yeah, I've got all the money in the world, I've got all the friends in the world, I've got everything in the world. And you're like, did you actually understand the value of why and how you got there and appreciate it?
Absolutely. That's powerful.
Love it.
Now we're getting
your fears.
Sorry, Angie, go ahead.
I said, I love it that you leaned into your fears, Desiree, and basically challenge yourself to grow, because I think that's a lot of adulting is, we all have these limitations, and a lot of them are just perceptions. But once we can go past that, we can really become more of a kind of a robust person ourselves. And then, you're serving others better through that, because you're doing your best to you.
So look at a spokeswoman. All of you are spokeswomen. What was the purpose of you being a spokesman? Why did you join? Because you wanted to listen, to be that confidence, to grow, to understand, to be powerful. I could sit here and go down every one of you, and I've seen such a huge growth on you. Look at Nancy. your presentations, Nancy, when you dropped that bomb that you doubled your salary and you knew what you're worth, you literally have brought it to the table to the next level on since you moved jobs. I've seen that double power, that multiplier by 2. Same with you, Nina, going through the positions and going through life and your ability to scale and understand and make it work to where you're just accelerating it exponential. And look at Angie, she's been running around the world going to camping and monetizing her home and what she's doing. I've learned so much and going, she's living life and not living in a bubble. And she's still making things happen with her business of how she's structured. And you have no idea what's going behind Brandy's background. And it's unbelievable what she did. I mean, I first roomed with her and she says, I was the first person to find out she was pregnant beside her immediate family because we were in the room and I said, are you pregnant? She's like, oh my God, oh my God. How did you do that? And, you know, and she's been taking care of everyone and a son from parents to this and not to disclose, but you have no idea what our inner personal lives we're going through medically, physically, financially, and what our angst and love is. And same with Veronica. I met Veronica 3 months ago and I'm like, girl, what is, girl, I need you. I want you. You need to be part of the delegate because she had great strengths, but her nerves to certain things. I'm like, no. You get this happen. I need this because you have this that you just need to just hone this little bit in. And I remember Brandy being so passive, quiet, and her long red hair and just walking in like this and being very, very quiet. I'm like, girl, get up there. No. Yeah, you're going to get up there. And now look at you. You're killing it. So I think the idea is that we all need to have that moment that we own it. We are who we are. And whatever that fear is, take it, run with it, and go with it because none of us are the same. But all of us are so much better and more powerful because we're listening to, oh, she said that, he said that, my dog did that. Then look at Angie smile. Her click goes, click, what was that? What are you clicking? You have a climber going?
Yeah, well, and I play off of you guys. Like I'm listening to you and hearing all of the amazing things that you're doing and like kind of the borders that you break or the glass ceilings and all that kind of stuff. And it helps me to exactly like rise up and be like, okay, I can do this too. I need to figure out how to turn off these alerts because this is going to be tons of fun. But always getting text messages. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go on mute for a second.
Well, we're getting to the top of the hour. So I just I have a question for everybody before we go. If we listen more, what difference do you think it would make in the world? Nancy, I'm going to start with you.
I mean, I think almost most misunderstandings just wouldn't happen. Most arguments wouldn't happen. Most resentments wouldn't happen because of that. I think it's twofold, besides the listening, but also asking the question. I think it goes hand in hand, right? Sometimes we're listening, but we might have a bias an unconscious bias that we don't know that we have, or we'll have a perception of something that someone said and we'll fester on it. And then that builds resentment because you didn't clarify with the other person what they meant, what they really truly wanted to get across. And I think that a lot of just hurt, a lot of misunderstandings would be eliminated if we just listened and asked.
So true, Nancy. Couldn't agree more. Brandy, what do you think would make a difference if we listen?
I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier about here. So yes, a lot of people listen, but when we actually say, okay, this is what I heard, and when they say, no, that's just like what Nancy was saying, no, that's not what I'm saying this. Well, now I'm fully understanding because I didn't obviously understand. And now they know that I didn't understand because I said, this is what I hear. And they said, that's not what I'm saying. So getting out the misunderstandings, but usually someone just says something to you and then you're thinking about it. Gosh, they've been upset about this. And then you realize later, months later, you see them and they're like, no, they had nothing to do with that. So understanding them. It's a lot of misunderstandings or hurt feelings. What happens when someone gets a hurt feeling? You get hurt, you take it wrong, and you just shut up and don't say anything. So you don't tell anybody, you don't say anything, and then you just let it fester, and then it comes out later. So I think just getting out the misunderstanding and truly listening, but not just listening, but understanding what that person's trying to tell you.
Absolutely. Veronica.
So, not to be redundant, but I definitely believe that listening will not only prevent, to Nancy's point, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of wasted time. I believe it will help us to be much more productive and efficient because we are making less assumptions. And I do believe that it would make each and every one of us much more solution oriented. If we focus more on what other people's needs are versus leading with our own, I think we'd be very pleasantly surprised. I think some of my biggest accomplishments and greatest success have come on the tail of really just serving, just going in to serve and be part of that solution. And you'd be surprised how that's really reciprocated back to you. It resonates with people, and then in turn, they want to help you. They want to help solve your problem. And so first, by leading as a server and being solution oriented, and you can't do it unless you really listen to what their needs are. So
Ask,
that
right?
answers your question.
Give before you receive. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that. Angie, what do you think?
I think honestly, it's going to ultimately create more compassion and more love in the world, because if you're listening, like Nancy said, and if you're truly understanding, like Brandy said, then that creates the empathy. And I think you mentioned it earlier, Nina, and it's something that now we are truly compassionate about people because we're understanding where they're coming from, and that ultimately makes our world a better place. So like, 2 ears, let's listen and see how we can help somebody.
Desiree, any last words?
Yes, I love the smile, Nina. Woo! Bring it home. Think about this. We have never had a stage audience like we did in 2020, where we were all striving to hear something that was newsworthy, something that was happening, because we had already been Netflixed out. We had already gone everything because we were just so honed in and we were home. And we had to listen what was going on because we were so striving to figure out what was happening, could happen tomorrow, and what was breaking news on all the different, things that were going on, and how we could get access to money, all the different movements that happened, all the tension that was going on, the trigger happy thing. And we took a moment to listen. These events have been going on for decades, but we really did not sit down and listen to the environment that we were in, because we were all on a plane traveling. We were always too busy. We were always doing something. Now we have the attention, and now things are happening because of 2020's events, because we had to sit and listen to the news that was breaking, and we got to hear the angst of our children and our parents, and how do we have to do with all those logistics. So the actual listening, I think, went up majorly. Now the problem is now that we have the listening down, and we're opening up here in the United States, but in several other countries we're not, how are we going to listen to their issues versus then our issues that we have to deal with? And I believe that the quality, and Angie, you touched on this, the quality of life will be greatly increased if we take the moment to listen. And to Brandy's point, we truly understand what the other person is saying, or we are on the same level of informational share and understanding. But the problem is that the data that we're talking about between us might not be the factual data. So when we're talking about listening, you might say something to me and bring this data to analytics, but they might be all wrong because we aren't fact checking anymore. So when you ask, are we listening? We're listening to what you're saying, but it might be the real information, and we base our decision on it. So that listening comes to be, do we become confrontive, or do we actually understand your point of view from where you're at that time slot, and say, today's a new day, and what I said yesterday could be evolving because I have a new set of facts, a new set of circumstances. So I think that the listening mode has to be continuous and not stationary and flattened. And if we can continue to listen and evolve and go with the way we're the world's changing, then I believe that we'll have a much better place to go with it.
So true. So important. Well, I'd like to thank all of you, my beautiful, strong, empathetic, certified delegates for attending today. Veronica, I know that you're in a place right now where you have no electricity, so thank you so much for attending. Amazing. Angie, thank you. Brandy, Nancy, Desiree, this has been amazing. Thank you for attending. Listening is the missing half of communication. Absolutely necessary, but often overlooked. So thank you all for listening today and have a great evening. Thank
you, Nina. I'm so happy that you actually spoke more than normal. Just to wrap it up real quick, and you did a great job. So, Nina, we're gonna have to get her on stage more to do this so we can get her to raise her minutes that we have on talking stage. She's like, oh, we'll do this more often. We'll have it. We did the Monday. What was that Monday? We did the International Women's Day. Got you to talk a lot on that. So we'll do some more. But anyway, so on July 1st, we're going to have the next month, which is Be Present. Sharing your time is one of the most valuable gifts you can give. Do it with intention by truly being present, which is a great segment after Listen that we just heard. So make sure in closing that these every single day for the month of June, besides being Pride Month, is also there's several others. There's Home Ownership Month, and it's several other months that go into it. But the idea is this is about listening. So please tag listen, hashtag listen, hashtag NDILC principles, and you can hashtag the NAWRB Certified Delegate Spokeswomen, because every time you see someone listening and being truly having that conversation, please hashtag it, because we want to listen. We want to be intentional that we're listening, because the more we can do it, the better quality life we can be. So until that time, July 1st, we're going to do our next gig, and that's with the NDILC Council. And then from there, we'll be doing the following week. So these are every second Thursday of every single month at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you to Nina, our host this month, and thank you, everyone, for joining us, and be safe and stay healthy on behalf of NAWRB. Thank you all.
Everyone.
All right, good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well.